What is up, guys? Novice Prepper here, back with another video. Today's video is going to be a product review on this knife here. This is the F.A.S.T Tanto folding knife from Gerber gear. All of the information was pulled from Gerber's website and my own opinion and experiences with this item here. The F.A.S.T stands for Forward Action Spring Technology. While similar in appearance, this is a different blade than the 06 F.A.S.T that you'll see on the Gerber's website as well. I actually picked this item up as well as a couple others from a customer warranty. I had some other Gerber items that were a little defective in their manufacturing, so they gave me some credits and I actually picked this one up. On their website it is showing that it cost $82. I personally did not pay for that. I used the credit they gave me and picked it up. But that being said, I have no agreement with Gerber to do a review on their items or anything like that. This is just a, hey, I got this new item, I wanted to test it out, and in my 2.5 weeks of testing it, this is my opinions on it. Nothing's paid, nothing's sponsored, or any of that bullshit. So, back to the knife. The partially serrated blade is 3.25 inches long with a 7-inch overall length and an anodized aluminum handle. It weighs 5 ounces and has a 4.9 ounce safety slide locking mechanism, which is this right here. So the difference between this knife and, say, this Schrade right here, which this is the back spring assist, is this one doesn't have the back forward assist. You hit the thumb stud and it releases. Hit the thumb stud, it releases. And right now when it is in the down position, it is in the locked position. So you have to push it up into the unlock and bring it down. And then you can lock the knife as well whenever you want. So it's in the locked position now, and you can't deploy the blade. You gotta put it in the unlocked position, and blade's deployed. Currently on the Gerber's website, or Gerber Gear's website, it is at 23 reviews and a 3.4 out of 5 stars. So, as I said a second ago, I carried this blade for around 2.5 weeks and put some mild use on it in that time. The spring assist design is unique, but in my opinion, it's not worth the $82 price point. That seems a little excessive in comparison with, again, this Schrade. Or this Schrade. Or even, well, I'd say maybe it's definitely better than this little $12 fantasy knife from Amazon. I carried, between the two of these, I carried them for maybe about 1.5 years combined. Maybe like 8 months on this one and the rest on this one. Has a little wear on the blade. Broken clips on both of these, so that's one problem that I've seen with these Schrades. But $20 knives, not really worried about that. And side lock them. This one is not double-sided, so I can put my hand or finger here. Which, I don't know, one of these days, maybe I'll get around to sharpening it. But, back to the main knife, or let's center that one out. I mean, the clip here seems pretty solid, so it's not one of the flimsy clips. The blade has a very mild amount of wiggle on it. When you shake it, you can hear something. The one thing I don't like, and I'm going to talk about that a little more in a minute, is the button is not fluid. It is just not fluidly back and forth. It wiggles to the side. Let's see if I can... Yeah. It wiggles to the side, so it's not a fluid back and forth, so in a rush, your finger gets caught and it requires extra force to hit that unlock. in my opinion, that locking or an unlocking mechanism has the feel of just a much cheaper knife. Like it's trying to, like a knockoff knife, took the same concept and put it on their knife, and that's what it feels like. This doesn't feel like it belongs on this knife. So I went through all the reviews, all 23 of them, which not really that many, on Gerber's site, and the two most common complaints were that the thumb stud being loose, so this part here, one of the cases, it actually completely came off, and that person's knife was absolutely useless at that point, because you can't really, there's no sort of grip right here. And as well as weak screws. So that person did not specify if it was weak screws on the clip, which are from these two holes right here, or if he was talking about these, or they were talking about these screws along the perimeter here. There's one back here. I do like that solid on the back, and then it's got the thumb grip. I don't remember the proper term for it at this point. But personally, I haven't encountered either of these issues myself, but I may not have put enough wear on it to actually bring them forward. I mean, random piece of wood. It's got some solid wear on it, or not some solid wear. It's got a solid blade on it. I'm not sure what level of knife testing or stress I'm willing to do with this blade, because I may end up giving it to a family member who may have more use of it than me. And no, that did not damage the tip. I'm sure someone's going to ask about that. Tip is still perfectly, it's not bent or anything along those lines. So the blade is still reasonably acceptable. So in my time carrying this blade, I didn't feel confident enough in it for it to be my self-defense carry. I kept it as my backup or general utility blade. So if I had to bust open a box or anything, then this would be the knife I would pull out. If you've seen my EDC video, then you'll know the Gerber Icon or the Gerber, I don't know, the Mini, I don't remember the name for it, but it's a smaller blade that I can use to cut envelopes or boxes or any sort of like twine or anything like that. For this one to be a self-defense blade, I don't like the feel of how easy it is to open, and yes, that is a good thing to some, but how easy it is to deploy, you can literally barely move your thumb and the blade is deployed. My concern is how easy it is to deploy in your pocket. In my 2.5 weeks of testing it, I only had one sort of incident on that, where the lighter and chapstick I kept in that pocket, I don't know which one it was, something caught it and put a little tension on it, and it opened part way in my pocket. So I don't know if that's a common thing. I know some people only keep the one blade or whatever, nothing else in that one pocket. So to prevent that, I just like to utilize the space I have available. And in that situation, I was working with a family member, so it wasn't in sort of like, you know, a professional environment. It was just helping them move some stuff. So there was no real problems in that. It's just I closed the knife, took the chapstick and the lighter out of that pocket and put it in the other pocket and just left it. And I engaged the lock on this. So with the lock engaged, it takes a second. And I haven't really had too much, you know, comparatively to some, experience sitting here playing with it and opening it in one perfectly fluid motion. But again, it goes back into, it sticks. You can hear the click. To deploy it. So, locked, not opening, release. That takes the extra second or two. And I don't know if personally I would want that as my primary self-defense. As a backup blade or a utility blade, I believe this functions perfectly fine. I haven't put enough stress on it again to test the functionality of where its failing point is. I don't like how there's no real support of any sort along the interior here. So you get that tension in there when you're gripping the blade. Because grabbing it like this and more of an ice pick grip, you can feel the actual handle in your hand, and not just the clip, the handle itself flexing. I like the feel of a sturdy handle, which I get with the Gerber icon, but that's my personal preference. Personally, I feel it has the look and the feeling of a show knife or of a show-off knife over functional. While I still can't be sure of that until I have stress tested it, as someone who's carried dozens of knives over a decade, I don't like the initial feel of the blade or the mechanism. My main issue would be the mechanism so far, because that is the deployment point. That is pretty much the engine of this whole knife. So if this point feels really cheap, I can't really trust the knife itself. And this point here does feel cheap. You can see. So here, deploying it, and it doesn't lock back all the way. You can see, and it's off to the right a little bit. You can see that gap. And that locks it back, and that's centered. I don't know, it feels like they could have worked this mechanism or used different materials for it or something. Maybe they went over budget with it and just said, whatever, use whatever we have available, or, you know, use whatever we have left in the budget for this knife. I'm not too sure how the R&D on that one works. All in all, I would give this knife maybe a 2.3 star rating based on the reasons listed. So, what are your thoughts? Do you own one of these knives, and what is your opinion on it if you own one of these knives? Thank you for joining me on the journey to preparedness. Novice Prepper out.